A heads up, if you will, let me know you can hear me, and we're going to get started for day 2 of our challenge. So if you're out there, please let me know you can hear me, and we're going to get started. All right. Thank you, Sander. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the webinar. And we had a great day yesterday. We covered a lot of information. So let me get started right now today. So here we go. We're going to cover some of the things that we covered yesterday. We'll go back over because they are a little bit confusing, and I want to make sure that everybody understands. I want to talk a little bit about a very important tool that's a part of NinjaTrader, and that's the NinjaTrader playback feature. And one more time, I want to go over installing the magnet software and the template on your chart so everybody understands exactly how to do it. Okay, it's very simple. And let me just show you what you have to do. So we believe it's very important that your charts look like ours. Okay. First off, it's very clear. We've explained over and over what a magnet is. A magnet is a level on the chart where we're going to exit our trade. That's the important thing to remember. It's a level on the chart. I'm going to exit the trade. So if we're targeting the VWAP, which is this red line here, we're going to exit the trade right before we get to the VWAP if we're coming up to it. If we're going down to a level, for instance, the low of the day here, then we're going to get out of the trade a few ticks before we get to the downside, to that area. That is the exit. Magnets are the exit. So if we're trading up to the level, we get out a couple of ticks before the magnet. And if we're trading down to the level, we're on the other side of the trade. So it's very simple. It's really looking at trend. That's what a magnet trade is. And we're using a set group of indicators to help us to decide which direction we're going to go with our magnets, all right? So sometimes we're going to go long, sometimes we're going to go short, sometimes, and the thing is, we're going to know. You're going to almost always know in advance. If you come into a trade room and you look at a chart, and it could be any chart, you could put any chart on that you like. If you like trading the ES, you could look at the ES. I love trading gold. So I'm looking at gold right now, and you could see that there are various levels that our software chooses to put on the charts. If we right click the chart and look at indicators, the configured indicators that are on our charts are the order flow VWAP, the net change display, volume up and down, the squeeze, pivots, and the current day OHL, the open, high, low. Those are the key indicators that we are looking at to trade our magnets. So when we come into the room and turn the software on, what you have to do is install. Obviously, you got to install the software first, and your charts need to look like ours, okay? At a minimum, you want to have these indicators on your chart. Now, one thing I didn't mention yesterday, so one of the key levels that we use is the VWAP. There are 2 VWAPs that we let people know about in the magnet strategy. VWAP number 1 is if you are a lifetime NinjaTrader subscriber, as part of the subscription, you can have access to the order flow VWAP. If you right click on indicators and you just scroll down to order flow, you'll notice that one of the indicators is order flow VWAP. That indicator requires that you be a lifetime NinjaTrader subscriber. We also configure that indicator so that standard deviation bands are set to none, all right? That's something to remember if you're using the NinjaTrader order flow VWAP. The one configuration you want to make, standard deviation bands, gets changed from 3, which is default, to none, all right? And then you apply it and okay it. What that does is it lets the VWAP be aligned. We want it to be aligned. We don't want zones. We don't want any kind of colored areas. We just want a simple lined indicator. If you're not a NinjaTrader lifetime subscriber, when you download and install our template, it gives you access to a different VWAP. And inside the magnet software, you can turn on the correct VWAP that we're using. They calculate the same. The levels are the same, but it is different if you're not lifetime. So when you turn on your strategy and you highlight magnet, if you notice, the VWAP selection under indicators is either going to be order flow VWAP or the VWAP 10MT, our 10-minute trade VWAP. So if you don't have a VWAP and you're not a lifetime user, just make sure it's configured for VWAP 10MT. Also, make sure that your momentum length, this is for the squeeze, is 17, and the squeeze length is 20. When you install the template, those are the default settings, and those settings are important, or signals will not be correct, all right? It's not so much that they won't be correct, they won't be the way that we want them accessed. Our analysis is based on those settings, all right? So starting from scratch, as if you're a new member and you've never used the magnet before, I want to just go over one more time how to install it. It's very, very easy to install it. We send you the file location. It's a Google Drive file. Let me show you. If you're a member, there's 2 ways you can download the software. You could go to our website, which is perfectly an acceptable way to do it. So many members, it's pretty crazy, but so many members don't even use our website. And we have a very nice member area on our website. So when you log in to the website, what you'll see are a bunch of tabs on the left. When you join, you get access to the various tabs. If you're not a full member, you might not see Pro Trade Room. You might not see Daily Market Movers because you don't subscribe to them. But when you're a subscriber, you will see News Trader software. You click that. Then you click Download News Trader. It opens up a download for the main breakout strategy, News Trader. So you click that and it'll download. You can download the magnet manual, and you could download the magnet template, and you could download, of course, the magnet software. So let's assume you're going to start by downloading the software. So you click Magnet 2 software download, and you could either click the download button or you could click this little download arrow. Either will work. Once the file is downloaded, you'll get this message that the download is complete. Do not click that. Do not do anything with that. With NinjaTrader, what you do with the download is you import it into NinjaTrader. Now, many of you are already magnet users. Before you install the software, and I remind everybody, once a week, you should back up your NinjaTrader. And I say this over and over. because it's very important. If you ever have problems installing software, you know, we have seen instances where sometimes installing anyone's software opens up issues with other products that are installed in your NinjaTrader. And so you could avoid needing tech support. If you back up your NinjaTrader first, you'll always be able to restore yourself to where you were. So just go to your connections, disconnect all your live connections. And I know that I'm showing this a couple of times, but it's so important that I want to just make sure people see it over and over. All my connections are disconnected, and then I'm going to go to export, tools, export backup file. I get a listing of all of these files. I'm going to check all of them. The only one some of you may not check is market replay. If you're in a rush that particular week and you don't want to back up all your market replay data, don't check market replay because it takes much longer to do a backup. Do it at least once a week or once a month if you do a lot of replays. If you don't do a lot of replays, then it won't take very long. And then you just export. It'll open up a dialog. You give the file a name. I would put it in my download folder, save it, and then you have your backup, okay? So it's important. You've created a backup file. Now you're all set to go. When you're done with your backup, then what I would do, and this is people that already have the software installed, uninstall the current version. Go to Tools, remove NinjaScript Assembly, click on Magnet Trade, click Remove. I'll go through it, I'll do it with you. Remove, just say yes. It takes a second, not very long. Successfully removed, okay, close. And now you're gonna install the new version. The current version is version 20, all right? Version 20. So now I'm going to go back to Tools, Import NinjaScript add-on. It defaults to my download folder. That's where my number 20 is, version 20, 11.3.20. It's the 0.20. I double click it, okay it, and it's going to install into my NinjaTrader. Successfully imported, okay it, and now I'm going to shut down Ninja, save the workspace, and now reboot your Ninja and the new strategy will be installed. Give me a second, I'll reboot my Ninja. Now, after your Ninja is rebooted, the strategy is activated on the new version. And that brings up one other thing that's important. If you are a new member and you never had your software activated before, you need to send us your machine ID. Your machine ID is inside the help area on your control panel. All right, help, about, and then you have your machine ID. Okay, you copy and paste it and send it to us. Copy and paste it and send it to us. Don't forget to connect all your data. If you have prop accounts, you need to connect the various accounts. Wow, I am really interested in taking a magnet here. Watch. So look, I'm going to set up a micro gold magnet, okay? I may be too late already. So micro gold, you know what, I'll do it in sim because I don't know what's going on. I haven't been watching these markets. I'm going to throw a quick magnet on the chart. I put a magnet on every chart that I work on. So a high of day, low of day. I've got one position default. I've got default targets. I'm just going to turn it on I'm sure it's in sim. I'll double check. It's in sim, apply it, okay it. Notice I didn't do anything. I didn't really configure anything. I quickly looked to make sure that I had a position on and that I had a stop. I saw that really quickly. If you want to take the time, look at your strategy. So here's the magnet. When you open the strategy, first of all, how do you open the strategy? How do you get to the strategy? Let's back up even further. How do you get everything on your chart? How do you get it on your chart? Remember, you downloaded a template, right? We give you a template file also. You download the template, you download the magnet software. The template gets placed in a folder. Click on your document folder, click on NinjaTrader 8, click on templates, click on chart. Inside this folder, you're going to copy and paste the Magnet 2.0 template. All right. Then you're going to open a brand new chart. Even if you're a current user, I would recommend setting up one chart at least. Open a brand new chart, select the instrument you want to trade. Let's say we're going to trade gold. I love gold. Make sure trading hours says use instrument settings. Everything else is fine, default, okay it. All right, now we have a gold chart. Now my chart has some trades on it because I've been trading, but I need to get that template. It doesn't look like my normal trading chart. Right click the chart, click the word template, click load, Magnet 2.0, click that. Now, all I have to do is shrink my various indicators, tighten up my candles, right? Shrink down a little bit my chart, tighten things up again a little bit, the way that you like it. I'm now ready to trade. Your charts look like my charts look like your charts. Now to call up the software, right click, strategy, click on magnet, up top, double click magnet, high of day, low of day. Position 1 is a 1. The target is default. The stop is default at 20. My stop is 40. I'm not going to click anything else right now. Make sure the account is on sim. I'm going to apply it, okay it, turn on the magnet. It's already making the low. I heard the beep. I pressed the entry and I just entered a short magnet. It may not work. You know, I don't normally jump into a trade at lunchtime in 1 second, but a couple of things happened. I did not have the trade set to automatic. To set a magnet trade to automatic, and I'm going to do it on my other chart because this is theoretically in a trade, my NQ magnet, look at that, folks. That was a winning magnet trade. That is a beautiful example of how a magnet works. It's also a beautiful example of why you might want to use a second target. So I rushed because I felt I was going to miss the opportunity to grab the test of the low. It tested the low while we were here explaining how to set up the trade. What I could do for any magnet trade that I want, let's open the software again, right click the chart, click the strategy, highlight the strategy, all right? These are all the items that make up setting up a magnet trade. Now, I say this all the time. Don't let it worry you. Most of these items don't get changed every time, all right? The magnet trade enabled Default is off. Off means that it's going to generate high of day and low of day signals, but it's not going to show high of day, low of day orders. There's times where if you've just made a new low, you don't want the orders left on the chart. And let me show you why. If I apply it and okay it and turn on the trade, it's going to constantly trade because it's constantly making new lows. We can use the control panel to turn off the high of day, low of day, and turn it to off. That way it removes our orders because we already just traded it. We're not trading it again at this moment. We now are going to wait for signals. The other thing, so just to be clear, there are items we are adjusting inside the software. One of the other items we have control over is we always put two things on our charts. Besides all our indicators, which are easily configured now with the template, we put a magnet on all of our charts, and we put a reverse continue on all of our charts. How do you put a reverse continue on your chart? Right-click the chart, click Strategies, double-click News Trader. This assumes you have all of our software. If you don't, there's an easy way to do a reverse continue from inside the magnet. I like a separate reverse continue as my first choice. Double-click News Trader, change the breakout to reverse continue. How many positions do you want? I'm going to just trade one and one contract. That's default. My target, I'm going to do a 30-tick target. I'm going to do a 30-tick stop. Every trade that I set up, I go down, I look for the label under setup, and I label the trade. This is what? A GC reverse continue. So I label it that. And make sure I choose the account I want to trade it in. Right now I'm in Sim. Apply it and okay it. Notice I didn't have to change any of those other settings. We have a setup now. I turn the setup on by clicking the enabled button in the control panel. And now I have two buttons, instant long, instant short. Instant long just puts me in the market immediately long, instant short puts me in the market immediately short. Now, if you don't have our other software, if you're only a magnet software subscriber, you might not have the ability to put on this reverse continue. So we wanted magnet traders to be able to have the reverse continue setup because it is so important to everything that we do in almost every trade room. Inside the magnet strategy, so you right click, click the word strategy, highlight your magnet, make sure the magnet trade is not enabled. If it's enabled, you will not see your adjustments. Inside the software, you could click the enabled button and turn it off, and then press apply, and you'll get control back to make your edits. Inside the strategy is a whole simple way to put on a reverse continue setup. It's labeled reverse continue. You could choose how many positions. So if you want to set up a quick trade, one position, my stop is 30. Let's say 35, you just type it in. My target, let's say it's 35, type it in. I can turn trailing on if I want to. I can move my stop if my target gets hit, if I'm trading multiple positions. But for us now, we're just creating a very simple reverse continuation trade. One position, one contract, a stop, and a target. We're going to label. It's part of our magnet, all right? It's part of the GC magnet trade. To turn it all on, apply it, and okay it. And now when I turn the magnet trade on up here, if you notice on the control panel, I have reverse continue long, reverse continue short. So let's say we're watching signals, which we're doing all the time with magnet setups. After your high and low is traded, after your VWAP is traded during the day, if you want to just turn on signals, you can do that also with ARS standalone mode. It generates the most signals. Normally, what I like the best is off. When it's off, you configure the two types of signals you want to generate. Inside the software, if you scroll down to ARS, aftershock reversal, it shows you high of day signals, check. VWAP signals, check. If I want both types of signals, I check them both. Apply it, okay it. And remember, I've also set up my reverse continue inside the magnet. Apply it, okay it. So I have multiple types of trading I can do inside one strategy. Turn on the strategy and leave it running. Just turn it on. And I can do almost everything that the strategy can do, I can do with the control panel. So let me explain what I mean. First, we were talking about reverse continues. We're going to get a signal shortly, I believe, because we're now starting to change direction. We should get a long signal, and I'm going to probably take it during the webinar just for fun to show you how it works. When I see the momentum bars change color and the candles start changing color, I know I'm going to get a signal very shortly. Watch, you'll see. If we get a continuation on the next bar, I believe we'll see a signal. Then I now have a way to trade that signal, long or short, using one of the buttons on my control panel. So let's just watch for a second. Notice we had an NQ signal here. You might not have taken it. There's our signal. Now, it's a red candle. I might not dive into that signal instantaneously because it's red. I might want to make sure that the next bar, see what happened there? The bar didn't close yet. It's now dark red. That negates our signal. Now I'm going to wait. If the bar closes lighter colored, I might take it. I'm not dying to take it. Look at the trend. Very, very negative gold. Over $170 to the short side. That's a big downward move in gold. I'm not dying to take a long right now, especially with all this downward pressure. So I would not have taken that signal. You don't jump in. There's no reason in most cases to ever jump in just because you're going to miss something. You're not going to miss anything. There's 1,000 trades a week that will present themselves to you. Don't ever think you need to rush in and take a trade, because that's one of the worst things you can ever do. Most times when you rush and aren't prepared or don't do the proper eval, it's going to work out badly. And look, if I would have rushed into this signal, it was not a great signal. Right now, we're making lows. We're waiting to get exhausted, and we may get a better signal, and we certainly want two light colored bars, and I would prefer to see a green candle also. We're moving to the upside. I don't really want to dive into a red candle if I'm looking to go long. I'm going to increase my odds of a better outcome if I wait for a green candle. I don't have to rush. There's often really good sized moves on these reversals. As we create more and more new lows, I get more and more interested in going the opposite way. That much is absolutely true. And I'll show you also, we'll watch the NQ signals. We're getting a similar type of situation on the NQ. We're going to get long signals shortly when direction changes. Now, look, if there's something going on in the news and the markets are crashing out, it could be, minutes and minutes and minutes before you get a change in direction. Let's watch for a minute. We'll see what happens, and I'll explain more things about the control panel. The control panel basically takes opening up the strategy and puts a lot of the controls on your fingertips. Instead of having to open the strategy and tell the strategy, hey, I want to trade the VWAP, or I want to trade the high of day, you can make those changes right on the control panel. Look at, we got our signal. I could take my long, reverse continue long, upgrade my stop, make my stop bigger, make my target bigger, and we could see if our signal is going to be a good one. Right now, we're on micro gold, so it's a small, it's $1 a tick. My stop should be about 10 ticks below the low. That's the proper place for a signal. If you're trading a high of day, low of day signal, that's what we were trading. Our stop needs to go below the low. 10 ticks is what I like. Now look, there was a lot of downward pressure. It's not a guarantee that this signal is going to work today, but on micro gold, it's not going to blow up my account if it doesn't work. And I probably, in honesty, would have taken that signal. All right. That would be a real signal I would seriously have considered taking. We're getting a nicely formed bars, nicely formed momentum bars. Candles are starting to go green. We're getting a nice move upward. I'd like to see a little bit higher volume, but you can see it's starting to go. If I can move my stop to safety, I can guarantee I won't have a losing trade. Now, no matter what, no losing trade because my stop was above my entry. If it pulls back and fails like that, I made a couple of bucks. I could wait for the next signal. I also could have just waited until it hit my stop. You don't know for sure all the time what your best trade management is, but that's one option. Move your stop to safety. Wait to see if it keeps going in your direction. Normally, if you trade a 2-contract signal, and let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to turn off the magnet. 2 positions allows you to take a profit and stay in the trade more easily, very often. So we have our reverse continue set up right inside the magnet. What you can add to it, position 2, make it a 1, and that means position 1 has a contract, position 2 has a contract. Our stop, I would make it 60. It's MGC. It's not a major sized instrument. Target 1, let's make it 20. Target 2, let's make it 60. Or let's make it 50, all right? We also have a great feature in the software. If my first target gets hit, move my stop to break even. That's called the target 1 stop move. Target 1 stop move, if you just type in BE, if your first target gets hit, it moves your stop to break even. So now we've configured the trade, all right? It's part of our magnet. Apply it, okay it, turn the magnet back on, GC magnet in the control panel. And now, if I decide I want to take a trade right now, just a random long or random short, I've got a 2-position trade set up, and I'll take the long just for fun. So I've got a 2-position trade set up. Position 1, position 2. Now, remember what I said, my stop should be below the high of day or the low of day, because this was a low of day trade. I don't like to use random stops just based on whether or not, oh, I'm going to lose $50. That's the maximum stop I'm going to use. We use stops that are based on, more often than not, the market structure that we're trading. So if I'm trading highs and lows, it's got to break the low to destroy the trade. And look, it broke the low. This was very powerful price movement to the downside. And no signal would survive that because the price action is just too negative. You want to be very careful when you take signals in a very, very negative market, right? However, maybe you said to yourself, oh man, I should have taken that short. You could put a short on very quickly because we have our buttons configured, right? The buttons are configured, reverse long, reverse short. I configured them inside the magnet. So if I thought that I wanted to take a second trade, I can do that, all right? And I can combine my orders, I can combine my stops, but basically I'm able to take a trade by pressing the button. Now, I'm not saying that was a smart trade to take. I'm just saying you have the opportunity to scalp unsafely if you want to. Don't. You know, trade very carefully. Trade in a controlled manner. You could just wait for signals. You don't even have to ever take a trade anymore unless you have signals. Remember, we can take two sets of signals. And when I tell you that you're going to have plenty of signals all day long, if you just trade VWAP and high of day, low of day signals, lots of trades all day long, all different charts. If one chart is very quiet, you could go to a different instrument. For instance, I could go over to the YM if you like to trade the YM. Put the YM chart on, shrink it a little bit, look at the chart. What do you got? You got the PP up here, you got the previous market open, you got the VWAP, but what is attainable? What's really attainable on this chart? S1, R1, sorry, is attainable, right? Because it's not that far away. Sorry, S1 right here is attainable. The low of day is attainable, right? Not that far away. VWAP, a little bit far away for a trade at the moment, okay? Maybe you don't like that chart. Maybe you want to look at the ES, so see if there's better opportunities. So go over to the ES. Every chart that you load is going to be somewhat different. Levels are different. Maybe you like trading the euro currency, 6E0626. You can trade the euro currency. Any chart you like to trade, totally tradable as a magnet. Every chart has magnets. All of these magnets are popular levels where price tests. The price gets tested at these levels. Let's use the euro for a second. Let's put what you want to do if you change your chart. You're always thinking risk. So let's say your chart was set up for gold or micro gold. You might want to change your setup and relabel it if you change to the euro. So for now, I've got a gold. I had a gold reverse continue. I had a gold magnet. I had an NQ reverse continue set up here. Okay, we could turn that on. And I had an NQ magnet configured over here. We could turn that on, all right? The NQ magnet had some long signals and they've been failing also. And it's because these markets are pushing down. So, you know, you might just want to not jump into any longs right now until you feel more comfortable that those exhaustions are going to work. I always keep the time on my chart, all right? but I've changed my chart to the euro. So I don't want to just turn my gold setting on. I want to right-click the chart, look at my settings, maybe highlight the magnet. I want to change my stop. Maybe I would use a different size stop for the euro. Maybe I'd use 30, or maybe I'd use 50. The euro is a little bit more expensive to trade than micro gold, so I might have a smaller stop. I can trade, again, 1 or 2 contracts, right? Position 1, I could trade 5 contracts if my software would support it, and I can trade up to 2 positions. My first target on a magnet high of day, low of day trade, or any of the targeted trades. Here's how the trade setups work. So let me back up for a second and just show you the control panel again. So the control panel has these buttons, all right? Magnet entry is a very important button. When the magnet is turned on and you have a setup, a target, off is not a target, all right? High of day, low of day is a target. When you turn on high of day, low of day, it puts your orders on the chart close to the high of day and the low of day, depending upon how high the proximity number is. Now, we talked about this yesterday. The proximity means nothing except one simple thing. And I say this over and over. A lot of times, if you say things over and over, people remember them. So that's why I do this over and over. When we first invented the magnet, the proximity, we did not have orders that moved. So the proximity was the way we placed our entries. Orders that move made proximity much, much less important. If the proximity is a 3, look where our orders go when we turn on high of day, low of day magnets. That's the distance between our order entry and our exit. Remember, the exit is the high of day or the low of day. If I change the proximity to a 10, watch what happens. Highlight the magnet. Proximity is a 10. Apply it. Okay it. Turn on magnet. High of day, low of day. Look how much further it is away from the magnet. That's all that you have to worry about with proximity. Why doesn't it really matter? Because ultimately, you're going to adjust your orders in almost every case. So the proximity, it's just an aid to putting your orders on the chart. I like to leave it at 3, which is very close to the magnet, because I don't want to be real close to the current price, or it's going to start triggering trades when I don't want to trade. When the magnet is not set for automatic, you're going to get a blink and a purple. If you press the button when you get the blink and the audio alert and the purple, it will put you in the trade. It'll put you in the trade according to the trade setup you created inside the software. Position size was a 1. Our default target is -3, and I'll explain what it all means. Position size 2 is default 0. Target 2 tick offset is default -3, and stop has a default, it's usually 20 when you first turn on the software. So what does it all mean? It's all very simple. The proximity, it doesn't mean anything. It just puts the orders on the chart. The default is 3 because we don't want to trigger a trade before we're ready. So we want the order entry close to the magnet. We know we're going to adjust it. It doesn't really matter exactly where it goes. We don't have to worry about what calculates the proximity. That doesn't matter. All we have to know is proximity puts the orders on the chart. The standard magnet trade defaults target one, and I've said this 1,000 times, 3 ticks away, that's where you get out. So if you have a high of day, low of day magnet, and you just make your position 101, and you leave the target alone, -3, and you leave everything alone, make believe it's configured to trade, right? You turn it on, it's gonna exit. Let's say your fill, and your fill is gonna be when price goes through the heavy line. If I wanna get filled all the way down here for a test of the high, I could do that. It's not the way to use it. If I want to test to the high, I put my order where I think is the right place for price to go through the order, puts me in the trade, but it's not going to take me out exactly at the high. It's going to take me out 3 ticks before it gets there. That's what I believe is a test. That's a magnet test. That's as good as hitting the magnet, in my opinion. If I want to change the targeting, right? And remember, if you're not trading high of day, low of day, like, look, why would I be trading high of day, low of day now? When we're nowhere near the high of day, we're closer to the VWAP or the S1, that looks like, right? Maybe I'm going to trade a VWAP. You know, you might trade the low of day. So it's still valid to do a high of day, low of day, but it's a little bit far on the euro. It's pushing up at the moment. You might want to trade S1, which is right here. I could use the control panel, go to manual entry price, change my target to S1, take my order line and put it right above S1 where I want to get filled. And now I could turn it into an automated trade by pressing the magnet entry button and making it purple. And if price drops through our order, it'll fill the trade and target the S1, all right? You can check your target in the box, okay? You can check your target in the box. Look, it just filled me. And remember, I can control where I'm gonna trade by moving my orders, okay? But it triggered my trade and it's targeting the S1, and that's where it put our orders. Our stop, I think it was 40 ticks. It was a pretty big stop, so it's way up there. All right, this magnet looks like it's moving lower. You have a little bit of momentum that was on your side, but that's how you target the S1. I can turn the magnet back on. Maybe I don't want to target S1. Maybe I want to target a number I make up in my head that I think is a fantastic area to target, a custom level, a level that maybe I have a specialized indicator that I bought from a company that I love, and it's an indicator that we don't include with the magnet template. But that indicator gives you levels you want to trade. And 5850, 1.15850 is a level you want it to be a magnet. Right click the chart, click strategy, highlight magnet. Make sure your magnet's not enabled. If it's enabled, you can't do your editing. So you can press the enabled button inside the magnet to turn it off and apply it so you get your editing back. And now, remember I said I wanted to trade 1.15850. Go up to the top, manual entry price, and type in 1.5850. Watch what happens. I have a trade set up, all right? Make sure that your position target is manual. custom level. All right, that's very important, or it won't work properly. If you're using the manual entry price and typing in a custom level, target custom level. Okay, a lot of times you forget it. It's not going to, more often than not, it won't destroy the trade. But excuse me, but it could screw it up a little bit. So let's say I have a 40 tick target. I'm exiting a few ticks, 3 ticks before I get to that level. All right. Now, one thing I should say, not to totally confuse everything, when you're targeting the built-in pivots, and let me back up for a second because I misspoke a little bit. I want to make sure I'm clear. When you're targeting a custom level, use the position 1 target type to tell the magnet you're targeting a custom level. But you'll notice when you choose manual entry, it opens up 2 new targets. Those are your trade setup targets. So if I have a position 1 trade, that's my target. It's not -3 ticks. Let me make sure that that's what I had him do. Let's see if I'm right. I may not be able to know right now if I'm right because price isn't going to get there. Let's say I'm wrong, all right? Because I'm not perfect. I made so many changes to the software. Let's see if we can, I'll tell you what we can do. I think we can simulate it. So let's turn it on. We have a custom level. I think we'll get this to work. Turn it on. There's our trade. And let me see where our, no, it's not the way that I thought it's going to be. So hang on a second. And let me just see how we have it set. So in the magnet, yeah, I was targeting 30 ticks away. I was targeting 30 ticks away. So for whatever reason, I'm not seeing my target. So I'll figure that out for the next class tomorrow. It's something I totally forgot to work on. So let me just show you one other thing let me go over all the regular targeting so there's no confusion. Custom level, if you're going to target a custom level, let's say I'm going to put an instrument that I trade all the time. So let me put gold on, GC 0426. All right, let's say we're going to target 4,400 as our gold custom level. So I'm not going to turn on the magnet yet. I'm going to go inside, click on the strategy, highlight the magnet, magnet entry, manual entry price, 4,400. One position, but my target, 30 ticks, and my stop, let's make the stop 30 also, all right? Let me just see where everything triggers so I make sure that I'm giving you right info. So we turn on the magnet. We then get our line, all right? Now, unfortunately, the price is working against us. Right now, it's moving down, all right? But let's see what happens if it changes direction and fills our trade. Our magnet was actually 4,400. And that's exactly what it does. It puts your target 3 ticks away from 4,400. So custom level is doing it exactly like this. When you use custom level, okay, when you use custom level, and this is the way it's supposed to be, highlight your level. When you choose a custom level, you choose manual entry price. You type in the level. The magnet software will create a line at that level, and it will use our normal setup. Our normal setup. 3 ticks before it gets there, the number of positions, and the stop. This extra target 1 tick and target 2 ticks is when you do a scalp. It's something we'd probably never use, and I'm almost sorry I put it in the software, but it's possible because you could use the reverse continue to do a scalp. There's no reason. There's no reason. And Randy, thank you. I had the level wrong. You're absolutely right. So I had the level wrong, folks, when I typed it. And Randy caught that, so no problem. I made a mistake in what I typed. But using these extra target 1 and target 2 is when you do a target of ticks. You could just do a scalp. You could just do a scalp. But it's very, I don't know why we set it up that way, because we already have the reverse continue. It's so much easier to just, if you want to do a scalp and you have a magnet on, right? And you've set up your reverse continue, that's a complete independent setup of anything else. So use that for your scalps. It makes much more sense. If you're not going to set up an external reverse continue, and once again, what do I mean by an external reverse continue? Look at the way I have the NQ set up. I've got an NQ magnet strategy, right? And I have an external NQ reverse continue. When I turn it on, it gives me a long and a short button. That's an instant scalp, okay? Or an instant continuation or an instant reversal. It's the same thing. It's just safe to use because we have a target and a stop. It's not a guaranteed winner, but it's the safest way to do a scalp. You don't want to just jump into the market by buying a contract. Then you don't have stops, you don't have targets, you don't have anything. You don't have a way to control the trade easily, right? So that's why we use these reverse continues. An external reverse continue is a quick and easy and safe way to take a scalp. So we have our magnet, we have our reverse continue. We can also, if we set up the reverse continue inside the magnet, remember, inside the magnet strategy, we had the ability to set up reverse continue, a whole trade setup. How many positions? What's the stop? What's the target? It's so simple. It's very clean. It's easy. How do you turn it on? Turn on the magnet software. It's going long. I'm going long. I want to catch this move. I want a bigger target. Move it up. I want a bigger stop, maybe below this structure here. I'm starting to make some money. All right. That's how I like to scalp. That's how I like to use the reverse continue when I'm not doing it externally. You don't want to do them both at the same time because that will screw up your trade. But you have 2 ways to trade scalps: with the magnet strategy by itself, or with the magnet strategy in conjunction with our news trader strategy. What's in our news trader strategy? When you double click news trader, up at the top, you get your trade types. We have our breakout trade. We have our range trade. We have our reverse continue. Okay? 3 most important setups we use in these markets. In addition, of course, to our magnet trading. Our breakout trades are critical. Also, don't forget the trap trade. Also, it's a separate strategy, but it is part of our news trader software. When you become a subscriber to news trader software, it includes 2 strategies: the trap trade and the news trader strategy. Inside news trader are all these various setups. You've got the three big ones: reverse continue, range trade, and breakout trade. And you've got advanced trade types. When you click that and then click the arrow, you have a lot more different types of trades. We have a manual reverse breakout. We've got earnings trades. We've got squeeze plays. We've got a whole bunch of setups we don't really use anymore. Some of them were designed during the pandemic, and the markets aren't really appropriate to use them, or we've come up with better ways to do the same things. I can tell you this, the advanced trade types, the ones that are worth looking at, are the manual reverse breakout, which is fantastic. That's like the reverse of a regular breakout. Instead of going long when the price breaks up, it goes short. It's like half of a trap trade. It's very, very interesting. And then we have these zone trades that are very interesting to experiment with. And we have squeeze plays, which we're not going to cover in this webinar. One day we'll have a specialized webinar for the esoteric trade setups that we have. All right. But there's a lot of different setups. Our most popular are the three big ones that are there: reverse continue, breakout trade, and the range trade. Besides the magnet, those are probably 80% of everything we trade. We trade these days as many magnets as we trade everything else. Magnets are really popular ways to trade because they work so great. All right. Tomorrow, I'm going to go over how to set up a range trade, how to set up a breakout trade. I want to make sure we cover all of our major setups so people understand the really important ways that we trade these markets. Now, look, we rushed and we threw that trade on. We chased the market moving, all right? Not a smart way to trade. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I would not have necessarily taken that trade all the way up here when we had a long signal 8 minutes earlier that if you took it, it did work, right? That long signal, had you taken it at the right time, which would have been, let's say, here at a pretty bad entry, gave you 83 NQ ticks. That's if you took it at the right place. This was not the right place. This little blue arrow was not one of our trade signals. Just remember that. That's generated actually by markers inside of NinjaTrader. These are our trade signals, all right? Not this little tiny arrow. That is not a trade signal. Keep that in mind. Don't get confused. Our signals are much bigger, all right? Let me continue talking about targeting, because targeting is what the magnet's all about. When you have the magnet on, right, let me go through a little bit more of what are some of the items inside the software that you might adjust, all right? I'll tell you what, let's look at the buttons one more time though, because they're all interrelated. So when we turn on the high of day or any particular setup that requests an order, you're going to have an order line. Most of the targeting has a one order line setup. High of day, you get two lines. Of course, high of day and low of day, all right? I like to place my orders using market structure whenever possible. And we talked about this yesterday. This is an interesting situation. We've got three magnets. Now, they're not all that close to each other, but they're close enough that they could all get hit within a pretty short period of time, the way gold is moving. There is something that we added to the software that's kind of interesting. Let's say you're trading the high of day, and the PP is in between the high of day and your order. Here's my order. All right, there's my order. There's this little button, nearer target. If I click that little button, it will target the PP instead of the high of day. I have to say, honestly, there were a couple of things that I've done in designing the software that probably weren't necessary, or they became less necessary as we kept developing the software. Because we changed the targeting to make it so quick and easy to change your targets, you'll probably never use this nearer target feature. Why? Because let's say, you just got here, the default on the strategy is off, right? When you first turn on the magnet, the default is off, all right? So let's actually start from scratch. I'm going to remove the magnet from the chart, all right? And I'm just getting here, got out of the shower and here I am. I'm going to put my magnet strategy on the chart. Right click the chart, click strategies, double click magnet. When I do that, the default is off. The percent proximity is 3. There is no custom level. Position size 1 is a 1, and my exit default is 3 ticks before it gets to the magnet, -3. My position 2 is 0. It's a 1 position, 1 contract setup, and my stop is 20. Everything is enabled, longs and shorts. I can control the sound the purple button makes when it gets to our order line, okay? Or I could have no sound. Can you have no sound? Maybe not. Nope, you have to have a sound. But you can control the sound. I also, under trading, I can control target 1 stop move. Remember, target 1 stop move, if I have a 2-position trade and it hits my first target, I can automatically move my stop, let's say to break even, BE. Break even +4 if I'm in a big profit. Break even -3 if I want to protect part of my first target of profit. All right. Or I don't have to move my stop at all, and then it's a 0. We also have trailing stops. The kind of trailing stops that I use 99.9% of the time is tick for tick with number of trailing ticks 1. What does that mean? Trailing stop mode, when you turn it on, you have 3 choices. On, and that means the minute the trade starts working in your favor, for each tick for tick of price movement, you'll get 1 tick of trailing. If you wanted to trail 2 ticks for every tick of price movement, fine, but you have to be very careful with your trailing. You don't want to trail more than your profit, or your stop will wind up on the wrong side of price, screw up the trade, generate an error, and it could even cause you to lose money when you would have been making money. So make sure you only use more than 1 tick for tick if you know it's going to be a big mover and you're not going to overcome your stop with your tick movement. Your stop, if you're long, can't be on the wrong side of the stop, okay? Your stop, if you're long, is below your price, not above it, okay? So you can turn trailing stop on, just turn it on, and when the trade becomes positive, it'll start to trail. You could turn trailing stop on when you target 1 gets hit. And for a magnet, that's our trailing, because magnets are 2 positions maximum right now. So that turns on your trailing stop. Break-even delay we don't use anymore. All right, don't worry about it. It's just not something we use. Move, stop, break-even ticks, or if the market moves, that's not really a magnet thing. All right. I will say this though. This move, stop, break-even ticks is kind of a secret input. On every chart, when we turn on a trade, like on a breakout trade, for instance, we have buttons that most people don't even realize they're there. All right. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say we have a breakout trade that you're putting on. And I'm not going to do the time, I'm not even going to set it up. I'm just going to enable it. When you enable a breakout trade, you get buttons at the top of the chart. You get a BE, a break even button, and a combine orders button. The combine orders button, it just combines multiple orders into one position, and that position is the closest order to the current price. That's something that you might use to help you get out of a trade that isn't working. The break even button puts your trade to break even +1. However, that secret input that nobody knows about, it's just the programmer did something and I never knew it for years. It's kind of crazy. Move, stop to break even X ticks, which we use often in other settings, but it can also control and program our break even button at the top of the chart. If that number is a 5, then the break even button, if the market moves, move the stop BEX ticks, and that's a 5, move the stop break even +5 ticks, that break even box on the top, the button on the top of the chart will move your break even to break even +5 instead of the default, which is break even +1. So it's just a command that lets you program the break even button on the chart. That's all it is. But sometimes you might want your break even button to be break even +2 or break even +3. Our software has a lot of very interesting extra features, many of which you don't have to use. And that's why you don't have to worry about having too many inputs that you don't know what they do. I will go over, like I said, the breakout trade tomorrow. Let's go back to the magnet and go through our inputs. And because we are going to relate them to the buttons, all right? Notice that we have our buttons on the right chart here, all right, on the right chart, and we have our settings on this chart. Now, the way that trades work and the way that setups work is when you enter a setup on an individual chart, that's obviously where the setup goes. You can have multiple setups on a chart. I can have 3 or 4 different setups on one chart. They'll all show up on the control panel. That's why we give them all a separate name, right? They all get a separate name. It's very important to label every setup. Look, I didn't label this one that I was just showing, and it's just called generically News Trader. If I didn't label my trades, every one would be called News Trader, or everyone would be called Magnet Strategy. I wouldn't know what trades to remove when I'm done trading them. I wouldn't know how to cancel which trade if I didn't know what it was called. It's super important to label every setup, okay? Just do it. Just do it. Remember to call up the strategy, right-click the chart, click strategy, highlight the strategy you're trading. All right, so I'm going over our magnet settings and how they relate to the buttons. Long or short, controls whether or not the strategy will work long or short. That's straight ahead. If the button is the right color, it'll only go that direction. Then we have the ARS enter now, reverse continue long, and the reverse continue short. ARS enter now is controlled from the ARS signals, all right? ARS management. It's very simple. You have two possible positions, two possible targets. So you can trade signals if you want to, more than one way, right? I can trade this long signal two ways. I could take an instant long, right? Instant long with my reverse continue, move my stop below the low of the day, right? Or I could have taken a trade if I've configured my inside the magnet reverse continue strategy. Did I configure it so I could use the button to trade it? Position one is one contract. I have a target of 20 and a stop of 30. You know, I'd probably use a bigger stop with the NQ, but that's a perfectly acceptable setup. Apply it, okay it. When I turn the magnet on, the NQ magnet, right? If I wanted to take that signal long, I could take it inside the magnet right here, reverse continue long. There's my long, all right? I could make my target bigger. My stop is under, I want it under the low of the day. That's where I like that stop, all right? And there you have it. I can trade that signal two ways. I can trade it three ways. The third way is the ARS. I could use the ARS management system. Click on the strategy, highlight the magnet. We probably have overkilled it, but we didn't have the buttons all the time. That's why there's multiple ways to do things, all right? So if I adjust the ARS management, I can tell it how many positions, how many contracts per position, and my target and stop. So target one, it could be 20 ticks. Target two might be 50 ticks. My stop might be 100 ticks. And I might have target two as two contracts or one contract. So that's a way to control a signal. Right? We called it ARS because you would use those buttons when you get a signal. Right now, we don't have a signal. All right. And what happens is when you get a signal, it'll get dark and let you trade it. Otherwise, if I want to trade signals, either do it reverse continue, or if not signals, if I want to take a scalp or a continuation or a short or a long, do it from the reverse continue. If I want to go short here, press the reverse continue button. Bingo, that was a winner, right? Okay, there's multiple ways to trade the same way. Do what's easiest for you. I personally think the easiest is to forget most of the buttons. We don't need them. We went a little bit crazy. You don't need all the buttons. Most of the time, use your reverse continuation, the external, because it's so easy, so simple, so simple. And you know it's set up properly because you're doing it as you're getting your day started. You have each chart has a reverse continuation on it and a magnet on it. All right, let's go back. I'll put the buttons on the right and we'll look at some other things inside. When I say inside, I mean we're talking about the inputs, right? So very top, you have the methods that we're going to trade. How are you going to trade? Off just generates high of day, low of signals or VWAP signals, and it generates both, okay, if they're both checked. If you just want to trade VWAP signals, uncheck high of day, low of day, all right? And you won't get high of day, low of day signals on that chart, all right? I like VWAP and high of day. Those are my favorites. So you have magnet trade enabled off, which is just looking at signals. You also have high of day, low of day, and we also have manual entry price. I showed everybody the custom level. Let's do one more custom level trade. Let's we can use gold. Gold is easy. We'll move it up, make it real clear. So let's say, you know, you've got some software and you know, you want to take a trade. Hey, maybe you're watching the MNQ, you have a long signal, even though the market's down 418 points, you're a nut, you're going to take a long, all right? Reverse continue long, because you don't have your reverse continue other one turned on. If I had it turned on, I could take a long here, or I could take it here. There's my long. You know, you decide how much risk do you want to take, how big do you want your stop. This is just a random scalp, okay? In a very, very negative market today, very negative. I probably would not have been interested in taking that long, certainly not with momentum pushing down. That's a reason not to have taken that trade. Momentum pushing down, that's not the greatest signal. Wait for your momentum to change. Wait for more new lows. That was a bad signal to trade, okay? Learn to read the signals. Learn to read the signals. It's important. Why did that signal not generate anymore? The conditions are different now. Instead of there being a positive momentum bar, now they're all negative. So depending when you turn on the trade can also determine what signals will show up. This is a really negative market. I don't know if something was said in the news or not. I mean, that's an unknown to me right now because I'm not watching the news. All right. We were going to do another custom gold trade. So maybe 43.70. We want to set up a custom 43.70. Right click, turn on the strategy. I want to do a gold custom level. Manual entry price, 43.70. Target custom level, remember, target custom level. All right, we already have a position. We have a target, 3 ticks away. Apply it, okay. Turn it on. There's our magnet, right? We're coming down to it. So we're gonna move our target up off of the magnet. We draw a line where our custom level is. It's the only time the software draws a line. The order line starts out at the custom level. You're not going to leave it there. That's your magnet. That's your exit. Our entry is going to be when price goes through that area. All right. Our exit is 3 ticks above that. And it shows when you hover over the magnet entry box, it shows your target and it's correct, okay? It also shows your short. If I want this automatic, I press the magnet entry button and turn on auto mode. If I want to do it manually discretionary. When it beeps and turns purple, I press the box and it enters the trade, just like it did now. Now that's a small stop for gold, all right? That's how you use custom level. Very simple if you have your own levels that you want to use. Fantastic way to trade if you have special indicators that we don't support. To me, the custom level was a crucial, critical part of the magnet strategy. So everybody could use any price point as a magnet, all right? I never use custom level because I'm a maniac, high of day, low of day, VWAP trader. Those are my favorite levels. That's all. Everyone's different. It doesn't matter. All right, let's go back to our buttons. Let's go back to our setups. I want to go over almost everything. Tomorrow, we'll do more on signals, all right? Tomorrow will be more on signals and some JOBB stuff as well. So magnet strategy, highlight it. We have manual entry price, custom level. The big thing to remember about custom level, don't forget your target type. If you're doing custom level, don't be targeting R1 or current day open or scalping for ticks. Okay? Be targeting custom level. That's what you have to remember about custom level. Ooh, look, the NQ. I'm going to jump in. I want to take a long. You can't do anything until you close your setups. I wish that wasn't true. All right, maybe the market's turning around finally. Put our stop below market structure though. Below market structure. It's got to break the structure for me to want to take that trade. Okay. Let's go back. Remember what I like to do? If I get enough profit on a one position trade, I love moving my stop to safety and trying to trail and expanding my target and keep on trailing if I get the opportunity. I don't want to get taken out of this trade yet. See what I mean about keep on trailing? Now I'm going to expand my target. Who knows how far it's going to go? Maybe it's going to give me a gift. Trail, watch the price, keeps going up. I'm going to keep trailing, right? Let me show you what happened this morning on a real trade. One of our excellent market open trades, a great reason why people should become members, because we have other excellent trades besides our magnet trades. This trade is one of our members' trades. He taught it to everyone. We love it. It's been a fantastic, fantastic market opening trade. Let me see if I could find the video. Hang on. What did I do with this darn video? I'll find it. Here it is. All right, this morning, this was a fantastic trade. So we have a range trade. It's a very simple concept. We created a 5-minute range. After 5 minutes, the range stops calculating and our orders go on the chart. X ticks above the range, X ticks below the range. And watch what happened. When the range was done calculating, like I said, our orders show up and price starts moving because it's the market open. It's a market open trade. I would have bet my life this trade was going to stop out. That's how I was so worried about this trade. I don't know how I controlled myself and didn't close it early because I am really a reckless trader at times. I can be. I don't have any patience. And I just sat on my hands. Literally, I swear to God, I put my hands under my butt so I wouldn't close the trade because I thought it was going to fail. And then look what happens. It's going to hit the first target. Then it's going to hit the second target, which I couldn't believe it. Well, no, it's going to allow me to trail. Forget hitting the second target. I'm expanding my target, which is what I wanted to show you. And went halfway to the VWAP. Then I went all the way to the VWAP. Now I'm going to keep trailing. Price, oh, it almost got me. Price is going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up. I'm going to start to trail, keep going up. Going to expand my target again. Move the target. This is a technique we teach everybody in the room. When you get a market gift, when the market starts moving in the direction of a trade, keep your wits, expand your target, move your stop to safety, move your stop better than safety, trail your stop manually. Ninja gives you the ability. Watch one more time. This is a key technique that we use all the time. Whenever the market gives us a gift, we take advantage of this gift. It's the gift of expanding target. It's the gift of a move in the direction you're profitable. Happens all the time. The markets do it a lot. Have a technique to take advantage of it so you're not just trading your smallest possible profit. A lot of times we might set up a trade very conservatively because the market's choppy, and then you get that gift. Be ready to modify your trade, and you have to practice. It's not something everyone can do in 1 second. The markets are quick, and you're worried. You're afraid of losing money, you know? But this allowed us to trail, move the stop, expand the target, move the stop, trail, expand the target. You get the idea. It's a very simple but physical skill that you can master. All right. Trail, expand the stop. This was a great trade. That was a really good signal. All right. Let's go back and look at our inputs. Highlight the magnet. So we talked about custom level. Now we have our targeting. All right. All the targeting is controlled in the first trade setup. All right. So all of our targeting, VWAP, PP, R3, these are all the pivots we support. Current day open, which is the orange line. All right. S3, S1, R1, R3, PP, VWAP, custom, and high of day, low of day, right? Don't forget, high of day, low of day. We support all of those. All of that targeting for all of those is controlled in the first trade setup. And under trading, you can use all those features. Move the stop to break even, target one stop move, okay? You can use those features. So what does that really mean in terms of targeting? Because targeting is the main thing about the magnet that makes it a magnet trade. Targeting, that's the whole idea of the magnet strategy. So when targeting, when you first turn on the magnet trade, like I said, it's on off. You have no orders, you have no targeting. You're just getting VWAP and high of day signals. And look at that awesome freaking signal. Look at this gold signal. It was amazing. And look, it was a bad signal before it, but would you have taken this signal? It's making new lows. You got a red candle. It's far away from the low. I might not have taken that signal. I might not have taken that signal. This is a much more nicely formed momentum change. You learn to recognize beautiful momentum versus not so beautiful. This was not bad though. I have to be honest. It was not bad. It was a deceptive signal. Both of these were deceptive. One thing that I don't like about them is they're far off the low. Even this good signal is a little bit far off the low, a little bit more than what I want to take. Sometimes you will not take a signal because the risk is too high. Remember, with a long signal, high of day, low of day, or VWAP, your stop, if it's a long, must be below the indicator you're trading. And I want it 10 ticks below it, not one tick, where a newbie would put their stop. All right. Getting back to targeting. The targeting is the key to the magnet trade, and you can target everything pretty much in a moment's notice. So let's say you set up your magnet strategy for 2-position trade. All right. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1. Target 1 is -3 default, 3 ticks before it gets to the magnet. Target 2, we're going to make it 10 ticks after it goes through the magnet. High of day or low of day, it's going to go through it by 10. If you want it to go through the magnet by 20 ticks, no problem, just make it a 20. Let's say your stop is a 40. All right. I don't really need to do anything else except target 1 stop move. To me is very, very important. If I hit my first target, it's probably going to be a darn good profit. So I want to make my target 1 stop move most of the time break even, BE. All right. Now, before I do anything else, I'm also going to label the trade. So if it's a gold magnet, right? If it's a gold magnet, I'm going to go down to where the account is under trading, right? Find the account, sorry, under setup. And right under that is the label. And it's going to be GC. If I'm trading GC magnet, all right? Make sure you label it. It's critical. Nowadays, I think it's a good idea. You also have to choose your account. If you're trading sim or a prop account, that's where you choose it. Nowadays, I think the NQ's testing the low here, right? I would shut this, reverse short, see if it does, and then I'd put my trade back on. Let's see what happens just for fun. We'll put our magnet back on that we were working on. We just have to re-highlight it to get back to where we were, all right? We're going to label it GC. If you don't apply your changes, they don't get made. You must apply the changes to have them made. So if I do the label and I shorten it, because you're not going to see that anyway, apply it. So when it's up on there, it'll have taken effect. So it's in the sim account. It's GC magnet. Get in the habit. Also, you might as well program the reverse continue. Have a default setup for your reverse continue. So let's say with gold, you have a 1-position setup, a stop of 35, and a target of 35, 1 contract. So now we have a complete trade set up, right? We've got position 1 is a 1. We've got -3 target 1. Position 2 is a 1. And then our target 2 is 10 ticks more or less than the magnet, right? And our stop is 40 ticks, let's say. That's a perfect high of day, low of day type setup, okay? Go to apply it, go to template, save the setup. Save GC generic magnet. and save it and date it also. Critical. Just like we label everything, date everything. You will thank me, because there will be a time where you're sick for a week, you don't trade for a week, you're on vacation for a week, you forgot what your setup was last week or the week before. If you date it, you can bring it back by loading the template instead of saving it. Look at the test of the low. We made money, would have made money on that. I would also always do a generic, do that generic reverse continue. Make sure it's part of your magnet so that you have it, just you have it. So this magnet is a complete setup, but it's a complete setup. It's a generic setup for anything we target right now. So if you turn on this gold magnet, right now it's on high of day, low of day. That's where it just was. So we have our setup, high of day, low of day. Entry is controlled by you, right? That controls your entry. But if you're deciding to change your targeting, maybe the market completely changes direction and you want to target S1. So you just use your control panel, go to manual entry, target S1. And now our trade setup, if we're going up to S1, then we want to move our order to where our entry is going to be if the price goes up, goes down, goes up to S1. I said S1, right? S1's all the way up here. So if price changes direction, you want to bring your order, which was down here, up here. Our entry will show up in the box and our exit will show up as well. 3 ticks away from the S1 is our exit. That's our magnet now. That's what we're targeting. Maybe I want to target the VWAP. Just change it to the VWAP. Maybe I want my entry to be a little bit higher, right? Check. You could check in the box and it should be correct, right? If you want the trade automatic, turn it purple. If you think the software might get confused as to whether or not you're going to take a long or short, you could control that with the long or short button. If long is not on, it won't go long. All right. So if there's any possibility of confusion in direction, use the long and short button. 99% of the time, or let's say 88% of the time, we don't have to use it. We just don't. Okay. Now, we've covered a lot today and everything's working the way it's supposed to. I made a mistake before. Randy was nice enough to point it out. I had the wrong custom level typed in. That's why the targets were all goofed up. All right. Everything is targeting properly and working properly. All right. Who's got a question? Somebody must have a question. I think we've done enough for one day. Tomorrow, we're going to do a lot. We're going to cover signals and we're going to cover more custom, more. I'll go over the magnet again. I want to teach everybody how to do playback. It only takes 10 minutes. And we have a fantastic offer before our prices go up. Our prices are going up April 1st, and they're going up a lot. So we want to give everybody an opportunity to take advantage of the new price for at least a year. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone have any questions? If not, I'm getting ready for the Phillies, baby. And they're starting in about an hour and a half. And I'm going to watch that game and chill out. Anybody? No questions? Nothing? How do you like the magnet? What do you think? Was it worth the effort, you all? Was this worth the effort, do you think? Give me some feedback. What do you think? You could say no. I'm not gonna cry. I'm a grown up. Do you think that you might trade this way? Do you like the fact that it's not as risky as a breakout trade when there's news? Like, let me show you a couple of quick trades before we go. We're really using these software tools in our room. Here was this morning's open using a breakout trade on the MNQ. Look how quickly we made our profit. Watch this. We have a 35 bracket. So we have 35 ticks above the price, 35 ticks below the price. The market's opening right this second. Watch what happens. We hit our first target. The stop immediately moved to safety, protecting the first target. There's my stop. It's at break even. And I didn't even have time to make my target bigger, okay? Randy, I understand. I thought that you were new. There's a lot to digest. There is a lot to digest. Now, Roz is using the scalp a lot. Roz is using the reverse continue all the time in her live account, and she's doing great with it. Well, signals help you with direction on scalps, right? The squeeze helps you with direction on the scalps. But look at what the breakout did. We have, I would say, 4 major ways that we trade: magnet, breakout, range, trap. 5, reverse continue. 5. It's not too many ways. It's not too many things to learn. The reverse continue, we can teach a baby to trade the reverse continue, how to use it in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I can teach everybody how to use reverse continue. Let me just show you this quick winner on the MNQ. It was perfect. Breakouts are great when they work. They're awesome. You have to pick your battles with the breakouts. All right. Losey's markets. There must be some bad news going on today. Not good markets. They're just pushing down, pushing down. Sorry to see. The reverse continue. You know, I'm going to remove everything. Look how fast I can set up a reverse continue. So look, make believe I just got here. I've been out all day. I don't know what these markets are doing. Our indicators offer a lot because the net change display, this number is the net change display indicator. And that shows us how much negativity there is on the NQ since the market opened last evening. It's very, very negative. That tells us probably it's been negative all day. You don't want to count on that as the only thing you look at. You always want to look at maybe a 15 or a 30-minute chart to see what the instrument is really doing, right? All throughout the day. But just by loading our charts with our template, you have a great view of whether a market is bullish, bearish, or consolidating. And the reverse continue software setup lets you take advantage. A safe scalp. Why do I call it a safe scalp? Right-click the chart. Click strategy. I'll do it through the magnet because that's what we're learning today. Click on the magnet strategy. Scroll down to reverse continue. Position 1 is a 1 contract, 1 position. My stop is 50. My target is 50. That's a full-blown trade. I'm on the NQ chart, so I'm going to call it an NQ magnet. Check the account you're trading on, apply it, okay it, turn on the magnet, and now I want to go long maybe. if I get a signal, all I got to do is press the reverse continue long button. In 2 minutes, we put the strategy on the chart and we have a shirtload of information giving us clues about this market. We can see clearly the market's very negative. We could see net change display, market's very negative. We could see volume is picking up on the downside. We have failed long signals, okay? This one, maybe you could have gotten out flat if you took it. That was actually a winning signal. That was a winning signal. How do I know? Use our buddy, the ruler. Always showing an entry. I always show an entry at the worst place, not the best. It was easily 60 ticks of profit in that signal. That's not a bad signal. So even in these miserable markets, you can get signals. Would you have taken it? In this negativity, you're probably better looking for more shorts than longs. But as we're making new low, new low, new low, new low, retrace, new low, new low, new low, new low, I'm getting ready for a big reversal somewhere in here. I know it's risky. I don't have to rush into it, right? But the point I'm making is it took 2 minutes to put one of our most powerful setups on the chart to use, and it takes 5 or 10 minutes to learn. It's a reverse continuation. You're either going to continue going in the direction the market's going, or you're going to reverse the market. We have signals that help us reverse the market. We have indicators that help us continue the direction. Right now, it sure is looking like short might be the best way to go. It may not be the best time to scalp because look how far the market's already gone. Where would you put your stop? Market structure, all the way up there. That's 500 ticks. That's like a $2,500 stop. You're probably going to use a random stop in this market, right? Maybe 40 ticks away. Okay. Doesn't change the fact that it's a very easy setup to use. It's safe because you have a target and a stop. And you could wait for a signal before you even take it, right? Turn on the magnet. Here's our signal. Look, finally, we got a signal. That turns on the ARS enter now button to green. Oh. Ooh, I may have to talk to someone about that not triggering. So if that doesn't trigger, why do I always have my reverse continue ready to go? Because I can take the signal that way. All right. Take the signal that way. Let's see what happens. I'll talk to someone about that not triggering there. All right. But it takes 1 minute to put a reverse continue on the chart, and it only takes a few minutes to learn if you want to trade it, okay? Any questions, folks? Anything, anybody, before we go? We'll be back tomorrow at noon, and we still have a lot to cover at noon. And it'll be great. It'll be another good class. So I don't see any questions. I'll see everybody tomorrow. See y'all tomorrow at noon. So folks, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy opening day. Willie, thank you. Enjoy opening day. There will be a replay as long as you're registered, James, which you are. I will send out a replay later today. And absolutely, everyone gets a replay. All you have to do is register. There will be a replay. Okay? Yeah, author the hotkeys of the buttons. The hotkeys of the buttons. That's what the hotkeys are. The buttons. All right? Okay, folks. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care.